Hey, welcome guys. How are you? Good. We've got an interesting topic today on our second step on the improvement program. Some of you actually have really improved a lot just on the previous program we did, and I'm very happy to see that. And these simple approaches are actually having a huge direct impact on rating. So I think we'll continue with the same pattern and see how much it can really boost you. The next part we're going to do, I expect it, like it is probably about a 300 point potential improvement gain in it, and our approach will be very simple. Welcome Yubo, welcome Dinaf, welcome Greyold. Yeah, so just keep it like this, keep it simple, really dig deep into these simple positions, and hopefully they increase our understanding of much more complex and positions and like in general our play. So yeah, for those also helping with the spread of the word and bringing new people on, thank you so much. I think our Facebook growth is quite huge of late. I really appreciate that. And yeah, the more people we have, the easier it is to deliver these in more detail. Anyway, let's look at the position in front of us and see what needs to be done. So this position actually is black's turn to play, and black the guy playing white has found himself in a potentially lost position. So before we find out what black, in fact I can tell you what black played, which was a mistake. In this position black played a d takes e4, and this is an obvious mistake, and we'll get into why shortly. Now I want you to assume you were playing black here and what you would do, and maybe a reason why you would do that. Now these positions are definitely worth spending time on and understanding why certain moves should be played and certain moves should not be played. So here, if you were black, what would you do? So that's the first task. Whilst you're thinking, I'm just going to tell you that studying the endgame is easy. It's really not dependent on stuff like talent or anything like that. It's really a question of if you did the work, you are going to see the results. And also, your middle game understanding for some reason increases or goes up. I don't have the full explanation of why, but I think it's got a lot to do with the precision required in the end game on calculation spills over to the middle game, and you automatically become better in the end game, in the middle game. Sorry. No Chess No Life says maybe d4 to get the protected pass pawn. That's correct. I mean, any person, welcome No Chess No Life. d4 immediately makes a lot of sense because automatically you have a passed pawn. Whatever happens, you have a passed pawn, and it's going to have to keep an eye on this passed pawn, which makes this move an automatic. For any experienced player, this would make sense. But that's not the full story, of course. After d4, white could play a4, let's say a4, and you still have to show how to win this position. For instance, b5 would be a mistake, which would lose to take, and the king is able to get to these pawns, and using the pass pawn, black would be winning. But here it's very important to really just appreciate the fact that knowing that a pass pawn is very important in the endgame gives black a surety that he won't lose. Okay. So if you play d4 and white goes a4, black has to now go to the queen side because potentially a passed pawn could be created. So king d7 is the ideal move. Playing something like c5 would be a bit risky because white would then play b5. And you can rest assured that now it's white also with the assurances that he won't lose, because you still have to keep an eye on these pawns. So here in the end game, you just find the presence of or your knowledge of past pawns being very critical in decision making. You don't necessarily have to calculate anything. Just knowing that, okay, I need a passed pawn at any given time makes your decision making process easier. So let's say after a4, king d7, h4, king c7, g4, king b7, and after c5, a5, breaking the pawns. Now black has got two passed pawns, and after a4, you can use these two passed pawns to play off against white. You can't stop both pawns, so the game would be lost. Okay, so de4 was what was played by black. Now it's white's turn to play. What do you do? It's white's turn to play. How do you take advantage of this situation? I stopped taking these things for granted, like thinking it's obvious. When I started training, I realized not everything is as obvious as it looks. So yeah, you need to tell me, what does white need to do? Hey Hobek, thank you for liking the stream. Well done, AJS. Welcome, Matt. King e3 makes a lot of sense. And here black played the move a6. Okay, it's important to understand that if black plays king f5, here you have a variety of winning moves. The easiest one is g4 check, and after, let's say, king g5, you play c5 and you play on the far outside pass pawn, which would be completely devastating, because this, after b5, you'll be able to push this pawn to promotion. So white doesn't really have the time to go after your pawns. That's why in the game after a5 he just goes a6. You're welcome. Okay. Your opponent has played a6. Oh, sorry. So after king e3, he goes a6. Your opponent has played a6. Now, what do you do? He's played a6. How do you proceed here? Okay, Yubo says a4, and Captain Bet says king takes e4. King takes e4 is correct. Just get the pawn. It's clearly better. Black goes king d6. How do you proceed? Okay. After king d6, how do you proceed? It's easy. If you've done it, you've played a while, it's easy. But in that simplicity lies where a lot of people take it for granted. It looks simple, but you have to be very accurate. This king d6. a4 now, very good. Yes, a4, very important. After king d6, a4, and black goes h6. What do we do? And now after h6, what do you do? g4. Okay, not g4. It works. I mean, I think it should be fine. You can play g4, but there's a much more. There's one which is quite direct. There's one which is quite direct that you can use. There's a much more direct move here. Very good enough. Don't guess all the moves. Find one. Take on b5. What pawn do you retake with here? Well done. On b5. What do you retake with? After c takes b5. Correct. Take with the c pawn. He goes a5. What do you do? Yeah. Yeah, you both said g3. Okay, so, okay, now you've got a passed pawn, but it's your turn to play. What do you do? C b5, correct enough. You both said g3. I understand there is some sort of lag on the stream, so some of your answers might come in late. Okay, yeah, this would be an automatic move that most people would play. It's not wrong, but it's not definitely the most accurate. You don't even have to give up a pawn. When you're playing, don't give your opponent any chances or hope just because you want to win quickly. Just do the right thing. The opponent can suffer in this position without actually any chances. b4 is not possible. And I think you are trying to say g4. And g4 would be really wrong. b4 is not possible. So you need a move which, you kind of need a move which buys you time. That's what you're going for. g4 would be bad because, you see, when you play g4, he plays g5, and now you still have the move. And you, if you go away from this pawn, he goes against this time, or it's not losing, but it's not the most accurate. And it's actually a bad habit. When you play, just try to learn to do the stuff which gives you more chances and less chances than your opponent. If you really think about it, the new Lila chess engines, these new neural network engines that we use for analyzing chess, they work on the basis of probability. So any move you make which gives your opponent chances is not considered a good move. If you start thinking like that, that's a point actually. Yeah, if you start thinking like that, you realize that yeah, it will help you a lot. Okay, maybe I need to put, someone just sent me a message saying we need labels on the boards. That's fine. There is labels on this board, but you can't see them. Let me see if I can help with that. Board geometry. Okay, it's not easy. It's not really helping. Yeah, it's not really helping the colors. Okay, so it's the colors. I think there's coordinates, but we can't because of the colors. That's all right. Next, I'll work that out. So after here, you need to find a move. So if you go g4, yeah, like I said, they go g5, and now you have to play a bit with more care. So you want a move which keeps your opponent, in fact, which makes your opponent lose hope. That's what you're going for in a setup like this. You want him to feel like, you know what, I don't want to play anymore. So how do you do that? How do you make your opponent? And this idea, which you're going to see here, is covered in a book called The Last Lectures, which was written by Capablanca. It's a book. It's the move minimizes the chances of your opponent. Minimize your opponent's moves. It's not king e3. King e3 will just give your opponent opposition, or at least some chances, by going king d5. So you don't want to give up ground on that. You want him to work a little bit for his game. a4. Oh, I mean, maybe you mean h4, because it's the only move. I'll sort out the coordinates for the young people so that they can see. h4 is correct. h4 limits. Okay, so if you go g5, he's